In this video, I'm going to illustrate how to lower the armhole. Now, I'm using the bodice block because that's a block that you've been using at home that I've sent you. And this formula I'm using to lower the bodice block can be used on any upper torso garment just to lower the armhole. If you look at the bodice block, it's very, very high, the armhole. It's very close to the armpits and we want to lower it. So what I've done is I have drawn around my patterns here. I've got the back and I've got a space in between and I've got my sleeve. I'm just doing a little short sleeve on this one, and I've got my front with the space in between. Now, if you're wanting to drop the armhole, let's say you want to drop the armhole on this bodice block by 3 centimeters. So I've got a line missing here, that green line's missing. So as you can see here, I've got a line running through at the underarm, right the way through at the sleeve head here, and right the way through to the back at the armhole. So let's say I want to drop the armhole of the bodice block here by 3 centimeters. This is what I would do. So I'm obviously measuring down 3 centimeters. Okay, so, but if you're dropping your armhole, you're going to have to increase the width of your pattern. Otherwise, you'll restrict the uplift. Dropping the armhole on the sleeve and the bodice, you just learn to restrict uplift. So you're going to have to increase the width of your bodice pattern. Okay, so I'm dropping this down here by 3 centimeters, and once again I'm using my big felt pens. So in this case I'm going to increase the width here by about 1 centimeter on this. Okay, now what I'm now going to do is I'm actually going to, from that notch on the front here, I'm going to draw a lovely curve going down to where the bottom of my armhole is going to be now. So let's try the pattern master here, so we can get a nice shape on that. Sometimes you've just got to do it by hand. No, it's not really going to give me a lovely shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a nice shape here. Something, mirroring something similar to what I've got there. Okay. And I have now dropped the armhole. Okay. Okay, so that's my new armhole dropped on the bodice block here. I'll just draw it in to make sure that you can see it in black. Okay, so that's my new bodice block with the armhole dropped in the front. And clearly whatever I do on the front, I've got to do exactly the same thing on the back. So let me just mark in my darks and black again. If you were to make this up, you would move the darts away from the bust point. You guys know that now. Okay, so that's my armhole dropped in the bodice block down by 3 centimeters, and I increased it out by 1 to increase the width. And whatever I do in the front, I must do exactly the same thing on the back. So once again, I'm dropping down by 3 centimeters here, and I'm increasing out by 1. And I am again drawing a nice curved line, only up to the notches. Okay, So let's see if I've got a shape on the Pattern Master that I can use for that curve. Well, the Pattern Master's not bad for this one. Make sure you put in your notches, they're vital on this one. Okay. And again, let me just fill in so you can see the whole pattern here. Okay, so I have dropped the armhole on the front and the back. So now what we've got to do is deal with the sleeve. Okay, right, so what I've got to do now is measure on the front, which is crucial here, that you measure from the notch on the front here, the notch on the front. Okay, I'm measuring around a curve. So whenever you're measuring around a curve, guys, you measure with your tape measure on its side. Now I've measured around that black line up to the notch. Now my tape measure has been on its end or on its side as such, and that is approximately, the length of that line, that new line, is approximately 14 centimetres. So, and I do the same on the back. I measure from the notches on the back with my tape measure on its side. So can you see that okay?
No.
You can't see it. Right, okay, let's try it this way then. Measurement with a tape measure on its side. And again, it's about 13.5 centimetres. Okay, so we've dropped down the bodice by armhole by 3, but what you do is this green line, this sigh line, you drop down by 1/3 of what you've dropped down there. So you've got to drop down this line here by 1 centimetre, which is 1/3 of what you've dropped down on the bodice. So we know that we're going to have to measure from the line on the front down to the new line on the new side line or the bicep line on the sleeve. So we know that measurement's 14 because we just measured it. So I'm just going to very roughly measure until 14 falls on my line. It's fell on my line there. And I know that the measurement of that line was 13.5, and I haven't drawn that out far enough. And from these notches on the back, I'm measuring down approximately 13.5. Okay. Okay, so the measurements should be almost similar. They're not quite similar in the one that I've got here. Let me just take these measurements again. So, which is a bit strange. Ah, that's 13.5, not 14. So measuring down to 13.5 falls on the line, and that's exactly what I've got. And on this one, yeah, 13.5. 13 and a half, and that's my 13 and a half. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now the two measurements should be almost the same. So now you literally reshape the sleeve head. Okay. And reshape the sleeve head. Make sure everything's going to fit together again. And once again, because you have actually increased the width of your garment, the width of your sleeve is going to get larger also. And here we've got our new sleeve head. I need to get my pattern and just fix those. So if you're dropping an armhole, guys, you've always got to increase the width of the garment around the girth measurement and around the bodice girth measurement and around the sleeve. So just to recap, what I've done, I've dropped that line, that green line, down by 3 on the back and the front, and on the sleeve head we drop it down by 1/3 of what we dropped this by, so we're dropping that down by 1 centimetre.